I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to Conversations with Al McFarlane. And obviously, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays. Beautiful sunny day, cold as heck, but sunny and beautiful nonetheless. I'm hoping that you are having a wonderful, beautiful family and community day, celebrating all that this season means to you individually and to your community, and that it leads us all towards our intent of experiencing, knowing, and creating improvement in the days and years ahead. Today, we're going to continue the series of conversations with agencies and organizations that are organizing, pivoting to respond to the COVID-19 crisis, the pandemic. Thanks to Minnesota Department of Health for underwriting this program. It's one of around 25 or 26 we've been doing on a daily basis, 7 days a week, since the beginning of this month and through the 31st. Our intent is to elevate the voices, the vision, the work of friends, neighbors, community, politicians, business owners, people who are stakeholders in the preservation and the development of our community. And so today I'm pleased to continue in that vein and introduce and interview Shantan Howell. She's the founder of Girls Are Powerful. She's joined by a colleague from her team, Lizzie Noika. And she's going to correct me if the name is not said properly, but I guarantee you I'll get it right before we're over. So Lizzie, thank you for being here. Shantan, thank you for being here as well. And let me introduce you both to Brenda Gray. Brenda Gray is the writer, columnist for Insight News, who's creating the stories for our newspaper and our web platforms out of these conversations. Just a brief background, and thank you for sending this, Shantan. So the mission for the Girls Are Powerful is to inspire, to empower, and to lead. The organization is a 501c3. It's dedicated to empowering young girls and young women to embrace their unique individuality through affirmations, through self-reflection, and positive self-talk. And their approach has been creating workshops that give girls the courage to, stand in their identity, to recognize their undeniable beauty, and to discover and use their own personal power. And so, Shantan has a wonderful and moving story about how the light bulb went off in her to bring her to this work. I want to just turn to you, Shantan. Welcome. First of all, thank you for what you're doing, and tell the story. Where did this idea come from, and build on the mission and the vision that you are pursuing.
All right. So thank you for having me. Yeah, so Girls Are Powerful started 10 years ago, 7 years ago, excuse me, when my daughter was 10 years old. And I really wanted her to know that she was beautiful, smart, confident, unique, and determined, and that she had this power that no one can take away from her. Being originally from Chicago, I came to Minnesota for college, and just a cultural shock for me. But just kind of understanding how it is to be a young Black girl in a predominantly white environment, I can totally identify with her when she was 10 years old and she wanted to like straighten her hair, or they were talking about how curly it was and all of those different things. And it just kind of had me reflecting on what I needed to do to ensure that my daughter knew that she had this power that no one can take away from her. And so we really started with me talking to her about affirmations, and we put them on t-shirts so I can surround her with that message. So whenever she was faced with any type of situation, she knew that she had a power that no one can take away from her. She could stand in her power. She didn't have to give it away. But after this kind of conversation, she was like, "Oh, mom, I'm talking about this at school." We realized that other girls also needed to hear this message. And so we started to do workshops and different community events to spread this message that girls are powerful. My power does not take away from your power. Together, our power is so much stronger. But then also having the understanding that we want girls to understand that they have this thing, and we need to come together in order to get past all of these societal things that are set up to divide us.
Mhm.
We have to also band together and understand what does it mean for me to be beautiful, and how that does not take away from anyone else's beauty or power or confidence or uniqueness. um, so that's how I landed on this journey, 7 years ago. And now my daughter is 17. She is actively involved in the organization. And we are just kind of continuing to spread our wings and just kind of spreading that message of love yourself and, step into that power, and take up space. You right?
Mhm.
Take up space. It's all right to take up space and use our voice.
That's wonderful. That's a wonderful story. And so, in the age of COVID-19, what have you had to turn to, or how has that pandemic modified or forced you to lean into how we navigate through the challenges of COVID-19?
Yeah, so as a mobile organization and always doing face to face events, we really had to redefine who we were during this time. And having the opportunity to participate as a community partner with the Minnesota Department of Health, it really allowed us to continue our message forward.
Mhm.
Because we were already mobile, we were always already using Zoom and the technology, and I'm already a tech head, so it just kind of really worked in our favor in that way. But when the MDH contract came along, we had jumped all I'm stuttering today. Merry Christmas. Um, we had already started doing virtual well-being events for our community. I had just came off of like a 2-month sickness that potentially, like looking back, that could have been COVID, right? And
Mhm.
so as I started to learn more about, you need to move your body during this time, we need to just kind of keep our mental state
Mhm.
as best as possible. We started doing virtual events March, April of this year,
Mhm.
where we had movement instructors come in, speakers talking about our mental state,
Mhm.
because we didn't know a lot about COVID. And so we really had to think about how can we support the community right now. And we couldn't focus our time on just like the girls. We had to really say, this is about the family unit, right?
Mhm.
And so when the contract came along, it allowed us to expand this work. And that's when we pulled in the youth advisory board, and Lizzie can talk to that. And then we were able to just kind of start partnering with more and more community members that came into our space um, to help us get through the COVID pandemic. We also did like a summer program where we sent out boxes to like 130 girls across the country, actually, um, that gave them activities to do to keep their minds going and keeping them just kind of full force and awareness of, this is a unique situation that we're in, but we have to make sure that we're okay. So let's not forget about our power during this time. So we really had to, revamp our work. I'm currently working with the University of Minnesota to revamp our curriculum. So now we can offer it both, virtually or whenever that time is that we can get back in person. So really just a complete flip around of, who we are as an organization, but still getting that message out on a wider scale.
Great.
But I'll let Lizzie tell you more about what the Youth Advisory Board did as well. They did some awesome things.
Sure. Lizzie, good afternoon. Merry Christmas to you as well. And jump right in.
Yeah, thank you. So I am one of the individuals on the Girls Are Powerful Youth Advisory Board, and throughout our term, in our spring term, we had community interviews with healthcare workers to get their insights on COVID-19 and kind of how people need to take it more seriously, and some tips that we can share out with others to be more aware of it. Another project that we did was we um, we planned in one of our meetings to find an organization to donate masks to, an organization that's in need of masks. We did an initiative like that. And then for our winter term that just ended actually last week, we made masks again, and me and one of my other colleagues, we're planning to donate them to Mary's Place in Minneapolis before the new year, as a new year gift to the shelter. Um, yeah, those are kind of some bigger ones that we did. We also had a COVID-19 talk, kind of how COVID has impacted us throughout the year with Brandy Powell from KSTP,
Mhm.
to just share with people in the community how COVID has affected us and what we've been able to do to get over it, or um, kind of clear our mind from that.
Great, great. Listen, thank you. So tell me, Shantam, is you came here to go to school? You said you finished school here at the university, or where?
Yeah, I went to the University of Minnesota Morris,
What was your field?
computer science and statistics.
Is that where you work as well as the? Are you working in that field as well as the program? Or are
Yeah.
you full time in the program?
So Girls Are Powerful is my second full-time job. I am
Okay.
actually employed by Ramsey County as a project manager slash change manager right
Mhm.
now. So I have two full-time jobs.
Okay. And tell me about growing up. Your life in Chicago. Part of the issue, as I read one of the pieces about you, talked about being a taller person and just the challenge that people who aren't the cookie cutter, right, size, space, and all kinds of things. Talk about that, because that's really important around self-esteem and how you show up in the world.
Yeah. So I used to always say that I'm tall first, black, and then a woman. And I never knew what that meant until I got to Minnesota, and I can tell you more about that. But growing up in Chicago, it wasn't my skin color that was like picked on. It was really my height,
Mm-hmm.
because I was always taller than everybody in the classroom. And so when I came here, it's just something you deal with. I mean, getting picked on about your height, being taller than all of the boys. And then the bigger, I'm bigger than everybody too. So it's just something I just dealt with, and just kind of learned that it's okay, right, as time went on.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got here to Minnesota, they added in my color
Mm-hmm.
as another issue. I remember standing in line and I would get "excuse me, sirs," like on a constant. And I'm like, if you guys just took the time to look up to see that I'm a female,
Mm-hmm.
we could get past that. But I didn't realize how I was starting to internalize a lot of that. Going to a predominantly white college from a predominantly black high school was a complete like switch, and not realizing that my first week on campus, I had a racial incident that my mom couldn't even come to help move me in. And I had two roommates that didn't want to room with me because I was black.
Wow.
Um, and being the only, I graduated computer science degree as one of the first black women to have a computer science degree. And I remember times where I was a D student, and every time the teacher would tell me to change my major, but my counterpart over here, he was too. On him, he can continue. He got this.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like that resilience piece that you have to, deal with. Um, I think I wanted to just prove them wrong,
Mm-hmm.
that knowing that I can do this. So that's why I kind of kept pushing forward. But the impact of just that constant like poking and prodding at who I am as a tall person, as a black woman,
Mm-hmm.
it played a dizzy on me. And so when I started seeing that in my daughter, I was just like, ooh, no, we cannot do that. I'm not gonna allow you guys to do that to her. I mean, I had trauma um, throughout my career in tech, with in corporations, and I had to get to a point where I had to say enough was enough, and I found Girls Are Powerful as my safe my safe haven. So if if you're in a space and someone is constantly telling you that you can't, or they're constantly telling you that you're the problem, how do you deal with that, especially if you don't know all of these, these are we got the language now, right? They're
Microaggressions, right?
microaggressions, they're
Yeah.
all of those things. And so now we have the words to explain all of the things that I had been dealing with throughout my time here. And so now it's my responsibility to create a space where girls from all cultures, all racial ethnicities can sit in the same space and really talk to each other and understand that, these things that are set up to divide us, we can get past those. And so I just think that, like, my history of my tall Black and a woman, I'm very proud of it now, is very beneficial. And it's a unique thing that I can bring into this space. And I am so excited to just see the work that we have been doing over the last 7 years. I mean, I have young ladies who come up to me and was just like, just the message that they say to me. I don't tend to stop and smell the roses that often. But in those moments, I'm able to really reflect on the work that we're doing in the community. So it's very powerful.
Lizzie, let me ask you how you come to the work. How did you join with Shantan to be part of this work, and what your story is? I mean, I'm looking at, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys are at least a half a generation apart, or maybe it's another generation, I'm not sure. But I'm interested in intergenerational. In fact, I say that the three of us here, the four of us, Brenda and I, represent a generation in front of you, Shantan, and then I think you represent a generation in front of Lizzie. I'm guessing, I could be wrong, but if that's the case, let's talk about how values, energy, accountability, and responsibility transfer generation to generation, and how we each move the work forward. So how did you come to the work, and what is your story, Lizzie?
Yeah, so my story is actually, I admire my story. It first started off with a Facebook ad that was on my mom's feed, and she was like, "Oh, this looks really interesting. We should tap into it." So she went to the registration page, signed me up for one of the events, and I went to my very first Girls Are Powerful event that was at St. Kate's University. At first, I was a little shy because it was my first time and I wasn't really familiar with the individuals that were there. And I was like, I don't know how I feel. So it kind of took me a while to warm up to my surroundings. I eventually got used to it and I was like, oh, well, this isn't too bad. Later on, I attended another event. I don't quite remember which one, but I had attended another one, and I was like, oh, I really like Girls Are Powerful, and I recruited a few friends. And when I recruited it was the September one. I don't remember what they're called. The ones that always happen like a couple weeks after school starts. And I recruited
conference.
Yeah, the conference. And so I recruited a friend to come with me to that. And she was like, oh, thank you so much for recruiting me. I had such a nice time. And I was like, oh, well, that's cool. Later on, we had, there was a journaling program that had also started. And, you know, I wanted to try something new because journaling isn't really my thing, but I ended up to like it. It was pretty good. And in the middle of that, since we were a smaller group, Shantan offered us the opportunity to be the first term to join the Girls Are Powerful board. And at first I was like, wow, that's really big, being a part of a youth advisory board for an organization. I never pictured that coming. And so since then, I've been a part of Girls Are Powerful and never left. And it just started with that Facebook ad that got me here.
Well, that's a good story. So are you in school now still? Or are you
Yeah.
where do you go to
Yeah.
school? Where are you in school? What level of school are you in?
Ninth grade.
Ninth grade. Oh, okay, young. Okay, great. Well, listen. Let me tell you how clear and powerful and precise you sound. And so on behalf of my generation, I'm going to compliment you for your ability with language and with communicating, because you are phenomenal in your description of what you're doing, and you're rendering the ideas into language that you can share with other people. Compliments to you for that. And that compliment then goes to you, Shantan, as well, because that's obviously the point of this, right? The point of this is to encourage and to show and to walk, to nurture the young Lizzies of the world into their own power, right? I love the name of the organization, Girls Are Powerful. And I want you to talk about that, because too often our people are discouraged from even thinking about the word power. Uh, Power is associated with risk
Yeah.
for those of us who are, generation 2, 3, or 4 out of slavery.
Mm.
Power has something to do with how we interacted with those who controlled
Mm-hmm.
our communities and the world, as far as we knew.
Right.
And we also knew that the environment, the construct that we operated within and under was deathly. And for an individual who had been enslaved, and even during slavery, to try to act in his or her own agency,
Mm-hmm.
quite often was met with murder, killing.
Mm-hmm.
And it hasn't stopped. That's what George Floyd tells us. And that's what many things have told us. But what you said, Shantan, is that we're moving towards something different right now, where we can speak a new truth that will, I think, create a new world. But I can go on and on. Let me have you just respond to that. And Brenda, you jump in here too, because I know you are a mom, and you and I talk about the challenges that your daughters have had and that you had as a mom, trying to fight to clear a way for your children to be successful, your daughters in particular, to be successful in community and in the world. But Shantan first, and then Brenda, jump in, please.
Yeah. So I won't tell a lie. It scared me. Girls are powerful. That was not my original um, idea for this organization.
Mm-hmm.
It came up in conversation, right? Girls are powerful when I was talking to my daughter. I'm like, you are powerful. I need you to own your power and use it wisely. So that's the affirmation. It's like, own your power and use it wisely. And that use it wisely is that key piece of don't abuse it,
Mm-hmm.
assess it, and use it for good. I remember people kept saying, why are you saying own it and use it wisely? That's so weak. That is so, I was like, but you got to understand the construct of power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Power can be abused.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make sure that we as an organization teach our girls that we can own our power and use it wisely in a way of supporting others, supporting ourselves. And so when I started like bouncing around girls are powerful, I had to get encouraged to say that it was okay to
Mm-hmm.
use the term girls are powerful. I was gonna call it, and the person, they were like, well, it's GAP. And I was like, I don't want it to be GAP because I don't want any future issues with GAP.
Right.
So GRP is our acronym. And I had to sit in like, what does it truly mean to be a girl who is powerful?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when we were out on the road selling our products, I used to get so much backlash from the community about like, what do you mean you're powerful? Are you better than me? And I was just like, no, that's truly not what it is. So just imagine this tall Black woman at this booth talking about girls are powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And I got such mixed reviews, but right now it is the most, I have no problem with saying it now because we know the power that we have. It's just about us owning and celebrating it at this point. So yeah, I met it with some huge reservations and had to be encouraged.
Brenda, what do you think? What's your take on this conversation? Brenda, you're muted. If you're speaking, can't hear you.
Got it.
Okay.
I wanted to tell you that my daughter went through the same thing. And she went to University of Redlands, and she had her hair braided in the small braids, and these girls just went berserk. They just hadn't seen anything. And she played tennis. She was the first Black on the tennis team. So it was so bad with the Confederate flags and all of that, that I had to give up my job in LA and move to Redlands and stay in a hotel and teach school at night until she decided whether she was going to give up her scholarship or not. And I didn't want her to be a martyr,
Right.
but I didn't want her hurt. So I wanted to be there. So, and you know that you don't forget things like that.
We don't.
But you know, Al, what's so interesting was when I went to University of Missouri, that was the first thing I saw were whites on horses wearing Confederate uniforms and brandishing Confederate flags. And I said, oh my goodness, 30 years later, my daughter's going through the same thing. So I had to move her off campus to protect her. So I know that pain, and I know your mother's pain, but look at you now. Just beautiful young ladies, confident, and just continue. And I'm really proud of you for standing up for your daughter, because I did the same. I brought in the Department of Justice, Bill Whitcomb, when the Klan was at one of my daughter's high school. I brought CORE in at University of Redlands. Mothers stand, you know, bother us, but don't touch our children.
Very true. I was totally at the school. Like, okay. I remember we walked in, I went there for lunch, and one of the little dudes said, oh my God, you're tall. And I said, yes. And she get it from me, so leave her alone. And she just, my daughter just died. I said, here's the thing about that. We have to show up for our children. And so once you show up, then the teachers know that she has a support system behind her. And I needed them to know that I am here. And that's what I offer up to our parents. Like, if you need me to go to the schools, I am here to support you guys, because we have to just kind of band together. I mean, we just had an incident this during distance learning right now. You know, she fell behind in one of her classes, and she asked the teacher, like, what could she do? And he like blew her off, and I saw the email. So I sent him a nice, very, very nice email. I'm like, we didn't get a chance to meet, so let me tell you who I am.
Yep.
And then what did he do? Oh, I got opportunities for her. Exactly. And that's what I'm here, is to be that support system, not only for our girls, but also for our moms, our caregivers, to just like say, I have your back as well, because I want our girls to succeed. So what do I need to do to help? I remember saying, do I need to go have lunch? Now, I have a full-time job. I didn't know how I was going to pull it off, but I was going to do it. If I needed to go up to that school to support her daughter, I was going to be there. Because I think we got to get back to that old mentality. It needs to be the new mentality that this is a community, right? And we should be supporting each other as a community again.
Yeah, but we've got to get rid of that jealous streak, you know, like if I get to a certain level, then that means you're getting more than I am. We all have to be there to share, because I'm so concerned about our children.
Yes, I agree. And that's
there needs to be more Al McFarlane's giving breaks.
Right. And that's why my message is that my power does not take away from your power.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
And together our power is so much stronger. So how do we band together?
That is an amazing, amazing message. That's what I've been talking about for the past month or more. You just said it differently, but you say it clearly. And I use the description of our fulfillment as African people, as Black people, as we approach, attain, and move into embracing the power of our existence and our truth. We have a right to say that we intend to win, right? Here's the caveat. winning for us doesn't have to mean what they call winning, because their sense of winning is somebody has to lose. But what you just said, Chantan, is that my power doesn't take away from your power, that we both are better. And I think that describes the philosophical and conceptual approach to existence in our community and in our culture.
Exactly.
That our intent to thrive, to succeed, to enjoy, utilize properly power does not diminish your capacity to do the same. In fact, it should model how you can be powerful as well, and that both empowered, we move humanity forward. Does that make sense? I mean, I'm globalizing what you're saying, but I think it's that real.
Yeah, makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
I am your biggest cheerleader, right? Look,
Believe me, he should have a book of Al McFarlane introductions or things. I can't take them all in.
Well, listen, the point is for me as a journalist is I've been watching us for a long time, and I am truly and humbly amazed at the beauty and the power and the wisdom that our people bring to each other and to the world. And simply a question from my point of view as a communicator is that we simply got to keep talk it up, and live it up. We have to ultimately change the narrative, create a new narrative, right? And the narrative we create, the story we create, is a story that ends, as I said, with us winning, and even in the process, redefining what winning is, so that it's something that every human being has access to and has ownership of as well. So we're not against anybody. So yesterday we talked, you probably know Dr. Hayden. You know Peter Hayden?
I was just getting ready to say that about his comment.
What did he say?
Just right on the tip of my tongue. It was so powerful.
You go ahead and say it, Brenda.
He said, "What is it that bothers you about my loving myself?"
There it is.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I've just drafted his story, and it was like, oh my God, what a revelation.
That is
and
it.
I have a poster on my wall that says, "Not afraid to try." And at the bottom, it says, "The art of loving oneself." And when he said that, I said, oh, what a revelation. That's the fear, that if we unite, if we begin to love ourselves, you can't touch us.
Right.
The scholars were in Timbuktu. They can't come close to those brothers. They wrote their stuff in calligraphy. It's in the 1600s or whatever. We are powerful, brilliant people, and our children need to know it. I'm a former teacher. I'm a retired teacher, 37 years, and an administrator. And I just loved when I heard Dr. Hayden. First of all, I taught at Lincoln, where he graduated from. Mm-hmm. But that statement of all of the interviews that we've done, and we've done quite a few, I've just written and written and written. But boy, that statement just got me. And Al, we were on the same wave.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the beauty of these conversations, because everything is tied together. And we simply keep uncovering and rediscovering and reconnecting. And that's our job as communicators, to elevate. And in doing so, we shift, create a new narrative. You were going to say something, Chantan.
Yeah, and I just want to just tie that into, we need the same opportunities, right?
Yeah.
So I am leading this nonprofit, and I do not get the same opportunities as other nonprofits or organizations. And so it's like normalizing sharing the space, right? I really wish we can help people understand how that it's okay that I exist as a nonprofit, Black woman leading this nonprofit here in the Twin Cities. I don't have to compare it to anyone else, right? We are all, we all have our craft, and we all are trying to do the same thing. But let's normalize providing opportunities to us all. And that has been the biggest challenge for running or Girls Are Powerful is I don't have the same opportunities. And it's one of the most frustrating pieces, but it doesn't stop me, right?
Right, right.
I keep pushing forward, and opportunities like this kind of gets us in front of the community to say we exist and we are here. And so I thank you for this opportunity to get our voice out here, to share that GRP is here and we're here to support our girls and our community, so we all can own and celebrate our power.
Well, I thank you and Lizzie and your team for what you're doing. What you're doing is powerful, and is wonderful, and is absolutely necessary. Absolutely necessary. And the ability, the intent, the desire for us to collaborate more that you have just spelled out, I think it's foundational to the future, to sustainability. When you were saying that, Shantan, I was thinking about another thing I had said, the same kind of concept, but in the world of entrepreneurship, right? And I think that we have to rebrand ourselves as entrepreneurial, even in our approach to social problems or business problems or any other kind of problem. I mean, entrepreneurship is problem solving, and we need to begin to see ourselves as participants and owners of the solution side of the problem, not being relegated to the problem side in history and culture. And particularly after segregation, they created an industry managing our misery. I say, we get the misery, they get the money, right? And then they create this false competition between us so that we cancel each other out, looking for a crumb, but not really going after the resources we need and that we are entitled to, because we create the treasury that generates resources for problem solving. So all that has to be part of this discussion, and I think we're having that now. What I envision, Shantan, is that at some point in time, because we have decided to rebrand and to reclaim our identity, wouldn't it be great if you or I were walking down the street in Amsterdam or in Tokyo, and we overheard them say, "Oh, look, those are those entrepreneurs." Okay. The image we have in the world, problem solvers, entrepreneurs, and that problem solving spirit, that definition can apply in both the business commerce world, but also in the nonprofit world as well. That's a business as well. Right. Business principles have to guide what we do wherever we do it. So social business is a big business as well. And you've got your hand at the wheel in that arena. Kudos to you, and thank you so much for doing what you're doing. Listen, time is up. This has been a good conversation. Brenda, any final thoughts or comments? And we'll let Shantan finish the conversation. And Lizzie, you may have a comment about this exchange. I'm glad that we elders are talking in front of you, because I'm hoping that we simply are sharing with you attitudes, ideas, strategies, language that help you build and create the world in which you win.
Congratulations to your mother, Lizzie. You can tell that she's raised a beautiful, beautiful lady. And I wish you the very best. And you will be talking.
Thank you.
I just love what, and I think I'm sort of full with it because I know the pain, and we're going to let the pain go, and we're going to move ahead with positive progress. Yep. So happy holidays to you as well.
And Shantan, the final word is yours. Tell people how to support you.
All right. So please visit us. Our website is girlsarepowerful.org. You can follow us on social media. We are Girls Are Powerful on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're always looking for volunteer. We are a volunteer-based organization. No one gets paid. This is about the work to empower our girls. So we're always looking for volunteers to support our work, thought leaders, people that like to get their hands dirty. We are moving into 2021. We had big ideas for 2020, but had to pause for a moment, and that's okay. But 2021, we are redefining our work continually. We're looking to launch our mentor program. We're also thinking about our virtual platform and how we can cross more boundaries. So I encourage you all to just kind of check us out again at girlsarepowerful.org. Reach out to me and let's start talking. Our girls need us.
There we go. Listen, thank you so very much. I'm El McFarlane. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.